title of this episode is How to Avoid Burnout, but really it should be How to Avoid Burnout and How to Pull Yourself Out of Those Cycles of Exhaustion. Now, I just couldn't make the title as long as that. But the reality is, when we think about work-life balance as a business owner, it's very different to when we compare it to what we might mean if we were an employee. As an employee, work-life balance relates largely to you physically working and placing boundaries around that. But as a business owner, yes, we work hard, but something that really contributes to exhaustion and burnout is the cognitive load. We don't switch off from our business owners. It's not unusual to be thinking about your business from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep. And so for us, we have the actual working side of things to consider, but we also have that thinking side. And actually, more recently, I have found that it's that cognitive load that creates a lot more of that exhaustion than how much I'm physically working. It hasn't always been that way. Hasn't always been the case. At times it's been both, but on the whole, my business is now pretty streamlined. So although I work in the business, I actually have a lot of space in my days and my weeks, but I'm always thinking about it. If you're new here, then a huge welcome to the podcast. I'm Sumantha McMahon, and this is a very important topic for me because I'm a former corporate business trainer who switched to teaching back in 2011. In January 2017, I left the classroom, I set up my tuition business, and a few years after that, I put my education and business experience together, and now I specifically support tutors who want to create more sustainable and lucrative businesses that continue to make impact. So when we focus on that word sustainable, it means building something that gives us the life we want now, but also gives us those options for the future. We want a business that's, making money. It's serving our clients whilst giving us safety and releasing us so that we can also have a life. When I speak to my clients, many of them just accept that periods of burnout and exhaustion are normal. It's just a normal part of it. And for a long time, I actually just accepted that it was a normal part of running a business. But a while ago, I decided that I'm actually unwilling to accept that. And I was determined to find a way to avoid burnout as much as possible and to actually find a way to be able to pull myself out of it fast. And because that's something almost all of us experience and will struggle with, I wanted to do a bit of a deep dive so that I'm not just changing that experience for myself, but for as many of you as possible as well. The one thing that pulls me out of burnout and now helps me avoid it is this concept of enjoying the business. Loving what you do and enjoying running the business are two very different things. I love tutoring. I love working with my tutor clients. I love that I get to be their thinking partner and almost like a business partner where I can help them design a business and get creative about what the future could look like. I find it so exciting. But when I'm feeling like there just aren't enough hours in the day to do everything I want to do, and then after a long day, I'm continuing to think about the business in terms of ideas that I have, thoughts that I might have about the future of my own business, I'm exhausted. And so while I love what I do, I'm not always enjoying the experience. And having worked with so many tutors over the years and being one myself, this is the one pattern that keeps recurring. We are doing what we love, but we're not always enjoying the experience. And this is what often leads to the kind of exhaustion I'm talking about. So what do I mean by enjoying the business? Well, the reality is what this means to you will change over time. It will change partly because of personal circumstances, but also because of where you are in your own journey. If I go back to 2017, which is when I left the classroom and started tutoring, enjoying the business to me meant enjoying teaching again, because I had reached the point as a teacher where teaching started to feel inconvenient because it was getting in the way of all the other things I needed to get done outside of teaching, which was contributing to my heavy workload. It was contributing to me working until the moment I packed up to leave school, my break being the drive home, and then continuing to work when I got home and even having dinner in front of the computer. So by the time I left, I just wanted to teach without all the red tape and all the unnecessary extras. That is what enjoying my business meant to me at that time. Fast forward to now, I enjoy all of that side. I love teaching my students. I love coaching and mentoring my tutor clients. I have systems and processes and automations in place that mean that I really don't do very much admin. My definition now of working in the business involves client delivery, and I genuinely have space in the day and space in the week. So I shouldn't really experience exhaustion, but I'm a business owner. And so I'm always thinking of new ideas and ways to improve what I offer. I have ideas for webinars and new lead magnets, for instance. I'm always thinking of ways to streamline further. I think about how to delegate more to my team and so on. And so now my definition of enjoying the business is being able to enjoy the space that I have in my days and in my weeks. It's to fill those spaces with relaxing, doing something for myself, or switching off from the business, or, having time to cook. So my definition of enjoying the business feels very different now to how it felt back in 2017. So this is a really good place to start. What does enjoying the business mean for you? And remember, this is very different to loving what you do. What would it look like to you if you enjoyed the experience of owning and running the business that you have created? That's one of the first questions I ask my one-to-one clients when I onboard them, because it's really easy to list all the problems you want to fix. But as you find solutions, this vision is the one you have to tap into. And the reason why this question is so incredibly important is because it's the one thing that has pulled me out of burnout or exhaustion. And now it's becoming the one thing that's helping me avoid it. Because I recognize that when my mind is popping with loads of ideas and I'm thinking about the growth of my business and I'm thinking about how I can give myself security for my future, I want to take action immediately. So I have a great idea. I want to start with the ideation stage and I want to bring it to life. And all of that takes work and headspace. And so that space that I have in my schedule every day, every week, doesn't end up existing because I end up filling it with all of this stuff. And in my brain, I tell myself, well, I have to do this because this is important. And then I don't give myself breaks. And then that leads to exhaustion. But the moment I have a word with myself and tell myself that, hang on, if you aren't enjoying what you've worked so hard to create, then what's the point? Because when I work hard to achieve the next thing, there's going to be another thing that I'm thinking about. So it never stops. So if I don't stop during the day, if I don't make the most of the fact that I have actually created something that gives me an income I want, makes the impact I want, all within a schedule where technically I'm working part-time, if I don't enjoy that, then what's the point of all my hard work? It's that question that always pulls me out of that tough situation, because then I think of the alternative. I tell myself that if I'm not enjoying the results of my hard work, then I may as well work for an employer where I'll still be working hard, but I get things like annual leave and sick pay and so on. And quite honestly, that thought jolts me out of the cycle that I get myself in. So the key here is to really define what enjoying your business means to you right now, based on your personal circumstances and based on where you are in your business. And then forming a dialogue with yourself where you remind yourself to actually do it, to actually enjoy your business. And what's important here is that when you're defining what enjoying your business means, it's not aspirational. This isn't me with my business coaching hat on talking to you about goals and about what building a sustainable business actually means for you. This is about saying that you have created something, whatever that thing is, and whatever you have created has taken a lot of hard work. And it is at whichever stage it's in right now. And that's a good thing because you are further than you were when you set out to create this thing or arrive at this point in your business. So you have been making progress. And now it's time to enjoy that. It doesn't mean that business development and business growth comes to a standstill. What it does mean is that you make intentional time for business development and growth, but you also make intentional time to just enjoy the experience of running it. And this has been such an interesting experience for me because I'm in that phase right now. At the time of recording this episode, I recently did reach a point of exhaustion, and it was this concept of enjoying my business that pulled me out of it. However, I have business coaches. I've paid them a lot of money. And actually, the first 6 months of working with them was very action packed, which contributed to my exhaustion. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. It was the nature of what we were working on. It was one of those situations that once that train starts, it can't stop. But then I reached a point where it did come to a natural pause, but that didn't mean that there weren't more ideas for growth and development. Now, I still work with them. I renewed with them for another 6 months. But now I want to enjoy my business while growing at a different pace because I don't want to experience the exhaustion. I want to enjoy the rewards from all that hard work I did with them. And because of that, I've had to place myself in a very different mindset because I've paid them a lot of money. And when you pay a lot of money for a course or for a coach, it's easy to get into the mentality that you need to squeeze every moment out of it. Otherwise, you're wasting your money. It's easy to assume that being productive means being busy. But now that I'm enjoying my business and I'm making room to work on its development and growth, but in a more balanced way, instead of feeling like I'm not making the most of my investment with my coaches, I'm just using them differently. So sometimes I give them updates on what's been happening and where I'm at, and they support that. And sometimes I am working on something specific and I'll ask them questions, and things might get more intense and they'll support that as well. The point is, during round one, I had 6 months of pure intensity. Now in round two, I have a more balanced experience where it isn't always intense. And because that's exactly what I need so that I can think creatively and enjoy my business and grow all at the same time, that's what I make sure I get from them as well. I make sure that they're supporting the thing that I need right now. And I've had to really reframe how that means that I am actually getting a return on my investment because I'm getting what I need, not my perception of what being productive should look like. The concept of exhaustion, overwhelm, burnout, all of this is often at the forefront of my mind, honestly, because it's probably the conversation or the topic that comes up most with my clients, especially at the point they meet me. Because I work so specifically with tutors who want to build something more sustainable, particularly when I work with them one to one, they arrive at the point of either exhaustion or they arrive at the point where they have recognized that how they're working isn't sustainable. And so this conversation and this consideration runs throughout my work with them. I have to think about how to support them based on where they're at in their lives right now. Some people have the capacity and the mental space to do more than others. And so we have to think about how to pace things accordingly. And so my biggest learning from this has been that exhaustion can happen for very different reasons and it can look different for different people. I don't have a huge amount of personal demands as such. I don't have anyone really relying on me. Fortunately, my family are in good health, so I'm not a carer. And that means that if I do want to throw myself into a project, I can. And in some ways, this is great because if I want to make something happen in my business, I can and I can do it relatively fast. But in some ways, it's not so good because I don't have anything stopping me from working 24/7. I mean, I'm not saying that I want something bad to happen that stops me from being able to, but you know what I mean. I'm essentially available to my business more than someone else might be. And this means that I have to be incredibly self disciplined and self aware so that I don't burn out. Because when I'm in that cycle, it really affects my health. I don't sleep well. I get into bad eating habits. It affects my mood and all sorts. I just feel rubbish. And this is why I wanted to record this episode, because if I'm experiencing that, and if my clients are experiencing that, then I'm guessing you might be. I'm guessing many more people are experiencing it as well. And while there isn't a one size fits all or one solution to this, I just wanted to deep dive today into one of those possible solutions, and the one that has been particularly effective for me. It's also an important one for my clients because they need to make sure that they're using me in a way that suits what they need right now, rather than putting pressure on themselves to constantly be working on something new because they want to get the most out of their investment. The reality is, when we invest in anything, it's only a good investment if it gives us what we need, and what we need can change at different points. I hope you found this episode useful. And if you do experience cycles of exhaustion, the biggest takeaway from this is to pause and take your time to enjoy your business. Enjoy what you've created and sit in the rewards of that. You may not be exactly where you want to be, but that's okay because you're on the way to being where you want to be. And we need to enjoy the journey, not just that final destination. When you pause, it doesn't mean development and growth has to stop. You just get more intentional about it. You pace it differently. Have a great day, whatever you're doing. Thank you for staying with me. You'll hear from me on Wednesday.